What's up, everybody? And welcome to another edition of High Mythology, the show where we get high enough to follow a stranger through a portal to Narnia just because we like his flute solo, and tell you guys silly stories from mythology and folklore.
Yes.
Yeah, tonight we will be bringing you some Victorian fairy tales.
Yes.
Puff up my dress, please.
Yes. Get your collar ruffles.
Puff up my dress, get me some collar ruffles and a big poofy butt hair.
Ooh. Get that curled and bleached.
Get my asshole curled and bleached.
Permed and bleached.
Permed and bleached.
Yes.
Excuse me, fine sir. Please put a wig on my buttocks and bleach it. Yeah.
When he goes bald, give it a mustache.
When he goes bald, give it a mustache. A moustache? An mustache.
Can I permanently dye it?
Permanently dye. Yeah, tonight, Victorian Fairytales. We're going to start off with a little classic for you. A classic ditty you all might remember from your childhood nightmares. The Pied Piper of Hamlin.
I actually didn't know this story.
Yeah, Kim's new to the pipe world.
I mean, I've heard versions of it, but I didn't know the ending to it.
I just didn't know. Yeah.
The story's always ended at the first half.
Yeah.
Happy, merry.
Oh, that's fun.
Not
Oh
dark.
my God.
Jesus fuck. Okay.
Yeah, without further
Lots
ado,
of rhyming.
take it
Here
away,
we go.
Kim.
Gotta
Let's
clear
rhyme
my
it out.
throats around. Hamlin's town in Brunswick, by famous Hanover City. The river Weiser, deep and wide, washes its wall on the southern side. A pleasanter spot you'd never spied. But when begins my ditty?
When does begin my ditty?
Almost 500 years ago, to see townfolk suffer so from vermin was a pity. Wow.
Is that a spot of the plague?
Rats.
Rats.
They fought the dogs and killed the cats and
Jesus.
bit the babies in the cradles.
Jesus.
I know, it's dark, man.
What happened to the Tomlins kid? Oh, well, a rat carried him off.
The whole thing.
Yeah, he was 6. Yeah, I know. The rat was burly.
Crazy. There's like 16 of them at once.
Yeah.
And they ate the cheeses out the vats and licked the soups from the cook's own ladles, split open the kegs of salted sprats and made nests inside men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats.
You're spoiling our chats. That's not the worst thing, lady. You've got diseases.
Yeah, you gotta worry now.
You've got to worry now. He licked the cook's spoon.
Yeah, you're all sick now.
You're all
fucked.
So I'll just remember one thing, one key fact. Rats don't have sphincters, so there is poop everywhere.
By drowning their speaking with shrieking and squeaking in 50 different sharps and flats. At last the people in a body came to the town hall, came a-flockin'.
They came a flocking. That's clear.
They cried.
Our mayors are naughty. And as for our corporation, shocking. To think we buy gowns lined with ermine for dolts that can't or won't determine what best to rid us of our vermin. You hope because you're you fat old fuck. Oh, sure as fate, we'll send you packing.
You were right
I
here.
skipped quite a bit. Rouse up, sirs, give your brains a racking to find the remedy we've been lacking, and then that part about you going packing.
Wow.
Yeah, the rat disease really got to him. He only speaks in rhyme now.
You know, the rat has a line of its own, too.
Ah ha ha.
At this, the mayor and the corporation quaked with a mighty consternation. Consternation?
Constipation.
Constipation.
Yeah.
An hour they sat in council. At length the mayor broke silence.
For Gilda, I'd my ermine gown sell. I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy to bid one rag one's brain. I'm sure my poor head aches again. I've scratched it so, and all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap, a trap.
Wow.
Ooh.
You did good. Just as he said this, what should hap but the chamber door, but a gentle tap?
You guys are reaching for the rhymes.
They are.
Bless us!
Cried the mayor.
What's that?
With the corporation as he sat, looking little through wondrous fat, nor brighter was his eye, nor moister than a too long opened oyster. Save for when at noon his paunch grew mutinous.
My paunch is so mutinous.
For a plate of turtle green and glutinous. Still the mayor.
Only a scraping of shoes on the mat. Anything like the sound of a rat makes my heart go pitter-patter-pat. And I might have a heart attack. Come in.
The mayor cried, looking bigger, and in did come the strangest figure.
I need to poop so bad.
Well, Gayathy.
I'm so constipated.
His queer long coat from head to heel was half of yellow and half of red, and he himself was tall and thin, with sharp blue eyes, each like a pin, and light loose hair, yet swathery skin.
Look at my swathery skin.
Swarthy skin.
Swarthy.
It makes me feel like I gotta talk with the list to say that.
Swarthy.
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 No
right
tuft on cheek, no beard on chin, but lips where smiles went in and out. There was no guessing his kith and kin, and nobody could enough admire the tall man and his quaint attire. Quoth one.
Quoteth one. It is my great grandsire. Starting up at the trump of doomstone, he had walked this way from his painted tombstone.
He advanced to the council table, and,
Please, Your Honor,
said he,
I am able, by means of a secret charm, to draw all the creatures leaving beneath the sun. The creep will swim, will fly, or run after me, so as you never saw. And I chiefly use my charm on creatures that do people harm. The mole, the toad, the newt, the viper, and all the people call me Pied Piper.
very nice. And here they noticed round his neck a scarf of red and yellow stripe to match with his coat of the selfsame cheek. And at that scarf's end hung a pipe, and his fingers, they noticed, were ever straying, as if impatient to be playing.
He's just fingering the flute the whole time he's talking to him. Yes, I can help you with your rants. Oh, you like that
Tell
flute?
you where I put it for summer camp.
Why does this flute smell like your ass? Long story, but it will also be in rhyme.
As if impatient to be playing upon this pipe, as low as it dangled over his vestured old fangle.
Look at my pipe dangle. just dangling pipe over this vested old bangle. Yay. Poor piper as I am, in Tartary I feed on the charm. Last June, from this huge swarm of gnats, I eased in Asia the Nizam of a monstrous brood of vampire bats. He's like, some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate uphill. And as for what your brain bewilders, yeah. If I can rid your town of rats, will you give me like 1,000 guilders? One. 50,000.
Was the exclamation of the astonished mayor and corporation.
I'll do hand stuff, maybe even mouth stuff if you
think
get
this
rid of the rats.
Guy is from like Wonderland, maybe. Do you think the Red Queen's his mom, and he's just so used to everyone chopping people's heads off? He's like dee dee dee.
He's from Narnia.
Who would he be? He's the fawn. Toby? What's his name?
He's Toby. His name's Toby. He wandered into Narnia by accident, and they can't get rid of him. Toby, you can leave Narnia now. You need to go back to Earth, so you use your lessons.
They call me the Pied Piper.
I want to play my pipe.
You call me Peter Pied Piper.
Call me Pied Piper. I'm not calling you that. I know your name.
Your name is Jonathan.
Your name is Toby, and no one likes you. No, I have lots of friends. They love my pipe playing.
Nobody wants HIV from your pipe.
You want some HIV? It's on my pipe.
Some genital warts.
Genital warts? Look, I can play the brown note. Oh,
wow. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. Then, like a musical adept, to blow the pipe his lips he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkled, like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you heard as if any army muttered, and the muttering grew to a grumbling, and the grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the houses the rats came a-tumbling.
Is anyone else bothered by how much of the pipe he puts in his mouth when he blows it, or by the enormous amount of drool that's just coming, just all wet halfway in his mouth?
And somehow puts out 3 shrills.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's Aqualung. That's right. He's Jethro Tull.
Great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brown rats, black rats, gray rats, tawny rats.
I'm a tawny rat.
Grave old toddlers, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and prickling whiskers, families by the tens and dozens, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the piper for their lives. From street to street he piped advancing, and step for step they followed dancing, until they came to the river Wiser, wherein all plunged and perished, save for one, stout as Julius Caesar.
He's that buff rat. I'm gonna fuck you up later, bro.
His name was Macho Man.
His name was Macho.
He swam across and lived to carry, as he the manuscript he cherished.
I do imagine him stopping and just making eye contact with the Pied Piper and doing that thing where you bring 2 fingers up to your eyes and then point at the person before scampering off.
You know, I feel like that happened to us in Portland. That fucking rat was huge.
Monstrous.
To Ratland Home, his commentary, which was the rat.
At the first shrill notes of the pipe, I heard the sound of scraping tripe, and putting apples, wondrous ripe, into a cider press gripe, and moving away of pickle tub boards, and leaving a jar of conserved cupboards, and drawing the corks of train oil flasks, and breaking the hoop of butter casks, and it seemed as if a voice, sweeter far, then by hop or sultry is breathed, called out, "O rats, rejoice." The world is grown to one vast dry sultry. So munch on, crunch on, take your nunch on, breakfast, supper, dinner, lunch on. That's the slogan for my drive-through diner. Just shopping it around, seeing what people think. And just as bulky as sugar punch on. That's not a word. Already starved, like a great sun shone, glorious scarce an inch before me. Just as me thought it said, come, bore me. I've found the wiser rolling. Or me.
Yeah. That used to be a thing.
Oh, shoot. I don't believe it was. I think they just used it because they needed a word to rhyme. Or me. Yeah.
You should have heard the Hamlin people ringing the bells till they rock the steeple.
Rock the steeple, bro. Go!
Cried the mayor.
And get long poles, poke out the nest, and block up the holes. Consult with carpenters and builders. And leave in our town not even one trace of the rats. Or my stinking ex-wife.
When suddenly up the face of the piper perked in the marketplace with a...
First, if you please, my 1,000 guilders.
1,000 guilders, the mayor looked blue. Oh. So did the corporation, too. For council dinners made rare havoc with claret, moselle, vindigrave, hock, and half the money would replenish their seller's biggest butt with Rhenish.
See, they're making up words here on us.
Rhenish. To pay the sum to the wandering fellow with the gipsy coat of red and yellow.
Besides,
quoted the mayor with a knowing wink,
our business was done at the river's brink. We saw with our eyes as the vermin sink, and what is dead cannot come back to life, I think. So, friend, we're not the folks to shrink from the duty of giving you something for drink, and a matter of money to put in your poke. But as for the guilders, what we spoke of them, as you very well know, wasn't that was a joke. So what if I signed a contract? Besides, our losses have made us thrifty. 1,000 guilders? Take 50.
The piper's face fell, and then he cried,
No trifling. I can't wait. Besides, I promised to visit by dinner time Baghdad and accept the prime of the head cook's pot. It's going to get head from the cook?
Yeah.
I'm going to get some heads from a cook in Baghdad.
He's all rich in it.
He's all rich in it. He's just rolling in blowjobs. But having left in the caliph's kitchen of a nest of scorpions, no survivor. With him I proved no bargain driver. With you I don't think I'll have a bait a stiver. That's fucking making up words.
Making up words.
And folks who put me in a passion will find me pipe to another fashion. I'm gonna fuck you right in your buttholes. All of you, bend over now. I'm coming with the pipe. Well, how?
Cried the mayor.
Do you think I'll brook being worse treated than a cook? Insulted by a lazy ribald with idle pipe and bestial piebald.
I don't know.
Your pipe is just dangling there. I'm not scared of that. Maybe if it was hard or something. You threaten us, fellow? Do your worst. Blow on my pipe till you burst. Oh, no, I'll blow your pipe till you burst. No, blow your pipe until you burst.
Once more he stepped into the street, and to his lips again laid his long pipe of smooth, straight cane.
Lay that long, smooth, straight cane pipe in my mouth, big boy.
And here he blew 3 notes.
Oh, oh, oh.
Such sweet, soft notes, yet as yet magician's cunning never gave the enraptured air. There was a rustling that seemed like a bustling, a merry crowds justling at pitchings and hustling. Small feet were pattering, wooden shoes clattering, little hands clapping, and little tongues chattering. And like fowls in a farmyard when the barley is scattering. Out came the children running, all the little boys and girls, with rosy cheeks and flaxen curls, and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping, ran merrily after the wonderful music with shouting and laughter. The mayor was dumb, and the council stood as if they were changed into blocks of wood, unable to move a step or cry to the children merrily skipping by, and could only follow with the eye that joyous crowd at the piper's back. But how the mayor was on the rack, and the wretched councillors' bosoms beat, as the piper turned from the high street to where the Weiser rolled its waters, right in the way of their sons and daughters. However he turned from south to west, and to Koppelberg Hill his steps addressed, and after him the children pressed. Great was the joy in every breast. It's a mayor.
He can never cross the mighty top. He's forced to let the piping drop, and we shall see our children stop.
When lo, as they reached the mountainside, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern were suddenly hollowed, and the piper advanced and the children followed.
Space Piper!
And when all were in the very last, the door in the mountainside shut fast. Did I say all? No.
You did, you liar, you did.
One was lame.
One was lame. Oh no.
He just sucked. Nobody wanted him on his team. He was always the last pick anyway.
Is that lame Jerry over there? Yeah, tell him to take a left turn.
And he could not dance the whole way. And in after
like me,
years,
he has no sense of rhythm.
If you would blame his sadness, he would used to say,
"It's dull in our town since my playmates left. I can't forget that I'm bereft of all the pleasant sights they see, which the piper also promised me."
There were not actually puppies and free candy in the cave.
Yeah, a lot of butt stuff.
For he led us, he said, to a joyous land.
They shaved their heads as kids so they can use them as wigs.
So he could use them as wigs. It's all for his wig fantasy.
Joining the town, and just hand in hand, where waters gushed and fruit trees glow, and flowers put forth a fairer hue, and everything was strange and new. The sparrows were brighter than the peacocks here, and the dogs outran a fallow deer, and honeybees had lost their sting, and horses were born with eagle's wings. They couldn't fly, because an eagle's wings aren't big enough for a horse to fly, but they were just these horrible mutations with just tiny little wings coming out of their back, constantly in pain. And I just as I became assured, my lame foot would be speedily cured, the music stopped, and I stood still, and I found myself outside the hill, left alone, against my will, to go now limping as before, and never hear of that country more.
You know what the story is teaching you, right?
Ah.
Break your children's legs so they can't
Yeah,
get
so they can't
taken
run away.
away.
Yep, my kid's not getting abducted. How do you know? I broke his leg.
Make sure it stays broken.
Hobbled him.
Alas, alas, for Hamlin, there came into many a burgher's pate a text which says that heaven's gate opts to the rich at as easy rate as the needle's eyes takes a camel in.
We just got a crazy text. It said something about camels and evil.
And Easter bunnies. I don't even know.
Easter bunnies? I don't know. I think the mayor's drunk again.
I think so too.
Something about his ex-wife.
He cried for a minute there.
He cried,
I heard.
Yeah. He put crying emojis so that I knew he was crying during the text.
I didn't know what he was talking about. I just met him.
Are we still friends? Crying face, crying face. I might do something horrible if you say no. Crying face, exclamation point, oh face.
Pineapple?
Pineapple?
Hey.
Yeah.
The mayors sent east, west, north, and south to offer the piper by word of mouth. Wherever it was men's lot to find him, silver and gold to those hearts' content.
I went around truck stop bathroom to see if there were any pipers there, and turns out there's a lot of gay sex.
And hot dogs.
There's a lot. Yeah, someone put a hot dog through a little hole in the bathroom stall.
I found a deer's vagina.
I found a deer's vagina.
The lips of the kangaroo.
Yeah. Did you find the piper? No, but I found a deer's vagina in a dumpster. Okay, Larry, you're not allowed to look for things anymore.
We told you to go talk to people.
Yeah, we told you to go ask around for the piper.
What the
I
fuck?
talked to the raccoons in the dumpster, and they hadn't seen him.
They let me know with other uttering nerves.
Yeah, with their little squeaks.
If he'd only return the way he went and bring the children behind him. But when they saw 'twas lost endeavor, and piper and dancers were gone forever, they made a decree that lawyers never should think their records dated duly, if, after the day of the month and year, these words did not well appear.
And so long after what happened here on the 22nd of July, 1376.
And the better in memory to fix the place of the children's last retreat, they called it the Pied Piper's Street, where anyone playing on pipe or tabor was sure for the future to lose his labor, nor suffering thy hostelry or tavern to shock with the mirth of a street so solemn, so opposite the place of the cavern. They wrote the story on a column, and on the great church window painted the same to make the world acquainted, how their children were stolen away, and there it stands to this very day. And I must not omit to say that in Transylvania there's a tribe of alien people that ascribe the outlandish ways and dress on which their neighbors lay such stress, to their fathers and mothers having risen out of some subterraneous prison, into which they were trepanned long time ago in a mighty band, out of Hamlin's town in Brunswick land, but how or why they don't understand. So, Willie, let you and me be whispers of scores out with all men, especially pipers, and whether they pipe us free from rats or from mice, if we've promised them aught, let us keep our promise.
I got one piping my ex-wife. That's why she's my ex-wife.
This is why you tip your fucking waiters.
That's why you tip your piper.
50 would have been a nice tip. What the fuck? 1,000, motherfucker.
Okay, so I like the last part where all of a sudden it was like, and plot twist, he may have been an ancient alien vampire from Transylvania.
Blood.
What? just putting that out there.
No, the fucker's from Wonderland.
He's from Wonderland.
Red Queen's his mom.
The Red Queen's his mom. And Aslan's his dad.
Rumpelstiltskin's a cousin.
He told me of a magical land where lions sound like Liam Neeson's and Tilda Swinton's run around starting wars.
Right?
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick little break. Folks, might be an ad or two coming at you. Just letting you know.
Happens.
Then we'll get back.
In the meantime, you can check out the merch store.
Yeah, check out some of our merch. Check out our stuff.
The website.
Teespring.com, teespring.com/high-mythology-merch. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Tons of fun stuff. Okay, we'll be back. Blop, blop. And we are back. Back from our short little break to bring you guys our second Victorian fairy tale.
Yes.
The Magic Fishbone.
Sweet.
Sweet.
No rhyming.
No rhyming. No rhymes. No rhymes. We rhymed it. We did all of our rhymes on the first one.
Let me give you the first two paragraphs and we'll see how we start. There was once a king, and he had a queen. He was the manliest of his sex, and she was the fairest of hers.
King Conan.
The king was, in his private profession, under government. The queen's father had been a medical man out of town. They had 19 children, and were always having more. 17 of these children took care of the baby, and Alicia, the eldest, took care of them all. Their ages varied from 7 years to 7 months.
Wait, how did he become king? Usually a king's father was, the previous king. Yeah. It's not like his dad was a doctor. He just kind of lucked into the whole king thing.
Oh, the queen's father.
Oh, the queen's father.
Was a medical man.
Oh, okay, I thought it was the king's father.
I'm out of town.
I was like, then how did he just
Let us now resume our story.
Let us resume.
That's the first you've heard.
Oh, Jesus. That's what they
You're
said.
just
I
like-
thought you were saying.
No, they just want a little background real quick.
Just a little background.
He's a government man.
You had to know how much the Queen's dad makes.
I like to think of this as like the office. One day the king was going to the office when he stopped at the fishmonger's to buy 1.5 pounds of salmon.
Give me that salmon.
Not too near the tail, which the queen, who was a careful housekeeper, had requested him to send home. Mr. Pickles, the fishmonger said.
Oh, certainly, sir. Is there any other article? Good morning.
The king went.
Hi, Mr. Pickles.
The king went towards the office in a melancholy mood, for quarter day was such a long way off, and several of the dear children were growing out of their clothes.
Dear
He had
children?
Of his dear children.
Okay. I was like, is there some... They told us about the father of the mother, but they didn't tell us how their children were half deer?
He had not proceeded far when Mr. Pickles' errand boy came running after him and said, "Sir, you didn't notice the old lady in our shop." The king inquired.
What old lady? I saw none.
Now the king had not seen any old lady because the old lady had been invisible to him, though visible to Mr. Pickles' boy. Probably because it messed and splashed the water around to that degree and flopped the pairs of soles down in that violent manner that if she had not been visible to him, he would have spoiled her clothes. Just then the old lady came trotting up. She was dressed in short silk of the richest qualities, smelling of dried lavender. The old lady says,
King Watkins the First, I believe.
The king replied,
Watkins is my name.
The old lady says,
That's exactly what I just said. I just asked if your name was Watkins. Why'd you get so offended? If I'm not mistaken, the father of the beautiful Princess Alicia.
The king replies,
And of 18 other darlings. I have 0 pull-out game.
The old lady says,
Listen, are you going to the office?
It instantly flashed upon the king that she must be a fairy, or how else could she know that? The old lady, answering his thoughts, replies,
Oh, you're totally right, by the way, and I'm reading your thoughts. I hope that doesn't bother you. I am the good fairy, Grand Marina. Attend. When you return home to dinner, politely invite the Princess Alicia to have some salmon that you just brought now.
The king says,
I might disagree with her. She gets mad farty from time to time.
The old lady became so very angry at this absurd idea that the king was quite alarmed and humbly begged her pardon. The old lady says with the greatest contempt if possible to express,
I am so offended by your fart comment, I can't even. We hear a great deal too much about this thing disagreeing and that thing disagreeing. Don't be greedy. I think you want it all for yourself.
The king hung his head under this reproof, and she said he wouldn't talk about things disagreeing anymore.
But seriously, she gets mad farty.
The fairy Grand Marina says,
But be good then and don't. Just fucking don't, okay? When the beautiful Princess Alicia consents to partake of the salmon, as I think she will consent, you will find she leaves the fishbone on a plate. Tell her to dry it and to rub it and to polish it. Tell her to polish that fishbone until it shines like a mother of pearls. And to take care of it as a present for me. I want the fish bones back. I'm making a stew later.
The king asks.
Is that all?
The fairy Grand Marina, scolding him severely, says,
Calm your shit down, okay, King? Don't be so impatient. Don't catch people short, huh? Before they're done speaking, just cut them off all willy-nilly, all, oh, is that all you gotta say? Maybe if it was all I would have to say, I would have said, hey, that's all I had to say. Just the way with you grown-ups. You're always doing it.
The king again hung his head and said he wouldn't do so anymore.
You are very hard to please.
The very Grand Marina says,
Well, then fucking just don't, okay? Tell the Princess Alicia, with my love, that the fishbone is a magic present which can only be used once, but that it will bring her that one time she uses it, it'll bring her whatever she wishes for, provided she wishes for it at the right time. This is the message. Take fucking care of it.
The king was beginning.
Might I ask you the reason?
When the fairy became absolutely furious, she exclaimed, stamping her feet on the ground.
What in the actual fuck is your problem, King? I thought I told you shut your fucking mouth when I'm talking. Will you be good, sir? The reason for this and the reason for that, indeed. You're always wanting the reason. No reason. There. How you like that, you little piece of shit? Hoity-toity me. I'm sick of your grown-up reasons and your bullshit.
I thought that was so funny. I was like, she's getting so pissed.
Might I ask you the reason? Fuck off. How about that for the reason?
The king was extremely frightened by the old lady's flying into such a passion and said he was very sorry to have offended her and he wouldn't ask the reason anymore. The old lady says,
I'm going to show you this. It's the second finger from my pointer finger on my hand, and I'm going to tell you be good and fuck off.
With those words, Grand Marina vanished, and the king went on and on and on until he came to the office, and then he rode and rode and rode till at time it was time to go home. Then he politely invited the Princess Alicia, as the fairy had directed him, to partake of the salmon, and when she had enjoyed it very much, he saw the fishbone on her plate, as the fairy had told him he would, and he delivered the fairy's message, and the Princess Alicia took care to dry the bone, and to rub it, and to polish it, till it shone like mother of pearl. And so, when the queen was going to get up in the morning, she said, "Oh, dear me, my head." And then she fainted away. The Princess Alicia, who happened to be looking in at the chamber door, asked about breakfast, was very much alarmed when she saw her royal mamma in this state, and she rang the bell for Peggy, which was the name of the Lord Chamberlain.
Peggy.
But remembering there were smelling bottles, where the smelling bottles were, she climbed onto a chair and got it. And after that, she climbed onto another chair by the bedside and held the smelling bottle to the queen's nose.
It's a bottled fart.
And after that, she jumped down and got some water. And after that, she jumped up again and wetted the queen's forehead. And in short, when the Lord Chamberlain came in, the dear old woman said to the little princess, "What a trot you are. I couldn't have done it better myself." But that was not the worst of the good queen's illness. Oh no, she was very ill indeed, and for a long time.
Oh no!
The Princess Alicia kept the 17 young princes and princesses quiet, and dressed and undressed, and danced with the baby, and made the kettle boil, and heated the soup, and swept the hearth, and poured out the medicine, and nursed the queen, and did all that ever she could, and that was a busy as busy could be.
Don't even know if I'll have time to bottle more farts.
For there were not many servants at the palace for 3 reasons. Because the king was short of money, because of a rise in his office never seemed to come, and because quarter day was so far off that it looked almost as far off as the little ones of the stars.
I like this kingdom that they can just freely leave. Like, no one works for the king. Like, isn't he a king? No, he's pretty much just like
mayor.
A mayor, a corporation owner, really. He's basically a general manager at the local Walmart.
Poor guy. But on the morning when the queen fainted away, there was a magic fishbone. Why there it was in the Princess Alicia's pocket, she had almost taken it out to bring the queen to life again when she put it back and looked for the smelling salts. After the queen had come out of her swoon that morning and was dozing, the Princess Alicia hurried up the stairs to tell the most particular secret to the most particularly confidential friend of hers, who is a duchess. People did suppose her to be a doll, but she was really a duchess, though nobody knew it except the princess. This most particular...
Would that suck being a person? You like show up at the kingdom. You're like, hey, yeah, how's everybody doing? I'm Duchess von Frankenfurter. They're like, that's weird that doll talks. Put it in the corner. I'm a human, not a doll.
It's like fucking Annabelle.
Exactly.
I am Duchess Annabelle. Though nobody knew it except for the princess. This most particular secret was the secret about the magic fishbone, the history of which was well known to the Duchess because the princess had told her everything. The princess kneeled down by the bed on which the Duchess was laying, fully dressed and wide awake, and whispered the secret to her. The Duchess smiled and nodded, and people might have supposed that she never smiled and nodded, but she often did, though nobody knew it except the princess.
Nobody pays attention to her.
Then the Princess Alicia hurried down the stairs again to keep watch in the queen's room. She often kept watch.
She often kept wet.
She often kept watch by herself
She liked to stay moist.
in the queen's room. But every evening while the illness lasted, she sat there watching with the king. And every evening the king sat looking at her with a cross look, wondering why she never brought out the magic fishbone. As often as she noticed this, she ran upstairs and whispered the secrets to the Duchess over again, and said to the Duchess, besides,
They all think we're children. Never have a reason or meaning.
and the Duchess thought the most fashionable Duchess that ever was heard of winked her eye.
Dink.
One evening, when Alicia was wishing good night to the king, he said,
Alicia,
she says,
Yes, Papa.
he says,
what has become of the magic fishbone?
she says,
It's in my pocket, Papa.
he says,
I thought you had lost it.
she says,
Oh, no, Papa.
he says,
Or forgotten it.
she says.
No, indeed, Papa.
And so another time, the dreadful little snapping pug dog next door made a rush at one of the young princes as he stood on the steps coming home from school, and terrified him out of his wits, and he put his hands through a pane of glass, and bled. When 17 other young princes and princesses saw him bleed, they were terrified out of their wits too, and screamed themselves black into their 17 little faces all at once.
The pug was chasing me, so I punched a window and I broke my hand.
But the Princess Alicia put her hands all over the 17 mouths, one by one, and persuaded them to be quiet because
Persuaded. I like to imagine she's doing that thing where she puts the shush finger, just 17 in a row. Shh, shh, shh.
just one after the other.
Shh, shh, shut up.
She persuaded them to be quiet because of the sick queen. And then she put the wounded prince's hand in a basin of fresh cold water, while they stared with their twice 17 are 34 put down 4 and carry 3 eyes.
What the fuck? Boom! Math problem. How about that, bitches?
And then she looked in the hand for bits of glass, and there were fortunately no bits of glass there. And then she said to the 2 chubby-legged princes who were sturdy, though small,
Chubby leg.
Waddle on over with your chubby legs and bring me the royal rag bag. I'm a shipping, stitching, cut and contrive.
So those 2 young princes tugged at the royal rag bag and lugged it in, and the Princess Alicia sat down on the floor with a large pair of scissors and a needle and a thread, and snipped and stitched and cut and contrived, and made a bandage to put on it, and it fitted beautifully. And so, when it was all done, she saw the king, her papa, looking on by the door. He says,
Alicia,
she says,
Yes, Papa.
he says,
what have you been doing?
she says,
Snipping, stitching, cutting, and contriving. Pimping ain't easy, Papa.
he says,
Where is the magic fishbone?
she says,
In my pocket, Papa.
he says,
I thought you had lost it.
she says,
Oh, no, Papa.
he says,
Or forgotten it.
she says.
Who do you think you're talking to? No, indeed, Papa.
After that, she ran upstairs to the Duchess and told her what had passed, and told her the secret over again, and the Duchess shook her flaxen curls and laughed with her rosy lips. Well, and so another time the baby fell under the grate. The 17 young princes and princesses were used to it, for they were almost always falling under the grate or down the stairs. But the baby was not used to it yet, and it gave him a swelling on his face and a black eye.
But what grate did the baby fall under?
Don't know.
Why do you have open grates in your...
I can't explain this.
That's their move so the children don't run away. They're like, instead of cattle guards, they're like,
here's
we
how
put
it
up
happened.
children guards.
This is how it happened. The way the poor little darling came to tumble was that he slid out of Princess Alicia's lap just as she was sitting, in a great coarse apron that quite smothered her, in front of the kitchen fire, beginning to peel the turnips for the broth for dinner. And the way she came to be doing that was the king's cook had run away that morning with her own true love, for who was a very tall but very tipsy soldier.
I was like, I think we should go to Vegas. We should probably get married.
I know, right? Then the 17 young princes and princesses, who cried at everything that happened, cried and roared. But the Princess Alicia, who couldn't help crying herself a little, quietly called to them to be still on account of not throwing back the queen upstairs, who was fast getting well, and said,
Hold your tongues, you wicked little monkeys, every one of you, while I examine baby.
Then she examined the baby and found that he had not broken anything, and she held a cold iron to his poor dear eye and smoothed his poor dear face, and he presently fell asleep in her arms. Then she said to the 17 princes and princesses,
I'm afraid to lay him down yet, lest he should wake and be pain. Be good, and you all shall be cooks.
They jumped for joy when they heard that and began making themselves cook capes out of old newspapers. So to one she gave a salt box, and to one she gave the barley, to one she gave the herbs, and to one she gave the turnips. To one she gave the carrots, and to one she gave the onions, and then to one she gave the spice box, till they were all cooks and running about at work. She sitting in the middle, smothered in the great coarse apron, nursing the baby. By and by the broth was done, and the baby woke, smiling like an angel, and was trusted to this sedatest princess to hold, while the other princes and princesses were squeezed into a far-off corner to look at the Princess Alicia turning out the saucepan full of broth, for fear, as they were always getting into trouble, they should get splashed and scalded. When the broth came tumbling out, steaming beautifully and smelling like new nosegay good to eat, they clapped their hands, and that made the baby clap his hands, and that, in his looking as if he had had a comic toothache, made all the princes and princesses laugh. So the Princess Alicia said,
Laugh and be good, and after dinner we'll make him a nest on the floor in the corner, and he'll sit in the nest and see a dance of 18 cooks.
That delighted the young prince and princesses. And they ate up all the broth and washed up all the plates and dishes and cleared away and pushed the table into the corner. And then they in their cook caps and the Princess Alicia in the smothering coarse apron that belonged to the cook that had run away with her own true love, that was very tall but very tipsy soldier.
You guys are you're all so awesome. You're just awesome.
Danced a dance of 18 cooks before the angelic baby, who forgot his swelled face and his black eye, and crowded with joy. And so then, once more, the Princess Alicia saw King Watkins the First, her father, standing in the doorway looking on, and he said,
What have you been doing, Alicia?
She says.
Cooking and contriving, Papa.
He says.
What else have you been doing, Alicia?
She says.
Pretty much your job, keeping the children lighthearted, Papa.
He says.
Where is that magic fishbone?
Lay off the fishbone, Papa. It's in my pocket.
He says.
Oh, I thought you had lost it.
She says.
Again, Papa?
He says.
Oh, I've forgotten it.
She says.
I'm starting to get pissed off at these accusations.
The king then sighed so heavily and seemed so low-spirited and sat down so miserably, leaning his head upon his hand and his elbow upon the kitchen table, pushed away into the corner. And the 17 princes and princesses crept softly out of the kitchen and left him alone with the Princess Alicia and the angelic baby. She says.
What's the matter, Papa?
He says.
I am dreadfully poor, my child.
She says.
Have you no money at all, Papa?
She says.
None, my child.
She says.
Is there no way left of getting any, Papa?
The king says.
Well, maybe if you could loan me like $100 or something. No way. I've tried very hard. I've tried all the ways. I offered fellatio to a guy down on the corner, and although he accepted, he did not pay me.
When she heard those last words, the Princess Alicia began to put her hand into her pocket where she kept the magic fishbone, and she said,
Papa, when we have tried very hard, and tried all the ways, and even sucked off a dude down by the docks, we must have done our very best.
He says.
No doubt, Alicia. I really went to town on it.
She says.
When we have done our very best, Papa, if that is not enough, then I think it's the right time to ask for help from others.
This was the very secret connected with the magic fishbone, which she had found out for herself from the good fairy Grandmarina's words, and which she had often whispered to her beautiful and fashionable friend, the Duchess. So she took out of her pocket the magic fishbone that had been dried and rubbed and polished till it shone like mother of pearl. And she gave it one little kiss and wished it was quarter day. And immediately it was quarter day, and the king's quarterly salary came rattling down the chimney and bounced into the middle of the floor. But this was not half of what happened. But this was not half of what happened. Not a quarter, for immediately afterwards the good fairy Grandmarina came riding in a carriage and 4 peacocks, and with Mr. Pickle's boy up behind, dressed in silver and gold, with a cocked hat, powdered hair, pink silk stockings, and a jeweled cane, and a nosegay. I don't know what that means. He's got a nose piercing?
A nose piercing, yeah.
Down jumped Mr. Pickle's boy with his cocked hat in his hand and wonderfully polite, being entirely changed by enchantment, and handed Grandmarina out. And there she stood in her rich short silk, smelling of dried lavender, fanning herself with a sparkling fan.
She smelled of dry lavender and cheap cigarettes.
The charming old fairy says,
Alicia, my dear, how do you do? I hope you're doing well. Give your auntie a little kiss.
The Princess Alicia embraced her, and then Grandmarina turned to the king and said rather sharply,
Are you good?
The king said he hoped so.
So much attitude from you. I haven't even said anything yet.
The fairy says while kissing the princess's forehead.
I suppose you know the reason now why my granddaughter here did not apply to the fishbone sooner.
The king made her a shy bow, and she says,
But you didn't then,
The king made an even shyer
shit.
bow, and the fairy said,
Any more reasons to ask for, huh?
The king said
Asshole.
no, and that he was very sorry. The fairy says,
Be good then, and live happy ever afterwards, you piece of shit.
Then Grandmarina waved her fan, and the queen came in most splendidly dressed, and the 17 young prince and princesses, no longer grown out of their clothes, came in, newly fitted out from top to toe, with tucks and everything to admit of its being let out. I don't know what that means. After that, the fairy tapped the Princess Alicia with her fan, and the smothering coarse apron flew away, and she appeared exquisitely dressed like a little bride, with a wreath of orange flowers and a silver veil. Thank you. After that, the kitchen dresser changed itself into a wardrobe made out of the most beautiful woods and gold and looking-glass, which was full of dresses of all sorts, and all for her and exactly fitting her. After that, the angelic baby came in, running alone with his face and his eye not a bit the worse, but much better than before. Then Grand Marina begged to be introduced to the Duchess. And when the Duchess was brought down, many compliments passed between them. A little whispering took place between the fairy and the Duchess, and then the fairy said aloud,
Yes, I thought she would have told you.
Grand Marina then turned to the king and queen and said,
We're going off in search of Prince Certain Person Tin.
Ew.
EO, certain person EO. The pleasure of your company.
That is literally how it's spelled.
It's all one word. Prince Certain Person EO. The pleasure of your company is requested at church in half an hour precisely. Don't be late, you stupid piece of shit. I swear to God, you're worthless.
So she and the Princess Alicia got into the carriage, and Mr. Pickles' boys handed in the Duchess, who sat by herself on the opposite seat. And then Mr. Pickles' boys put up the steps and he got behind, and then the peacocks flew away with their tails spread. Prince Certain Personio was sitting by himself, eating barley sugar and waiting to be 90. Waiting to be 90. When he saw the peacocks, followed by the carriage, coming in at the window, it immediately occurred to him that something uncommon was going to happen here.
Hey, it's me, Certain Person EO.
Grand Marina says,
Prince, I bring your bride.
fucking 90.
He's
fairy...
waiting to be 90, which means he's just going to sit there for his entire life. Like, that's it. I give up. I'm just going to sit here and wait till I die of old age.
The moment the fairy said those words, the Prince Certain Personio's face left off being sticky, and his jacket and corduroys changed into peach blossom velvet. And his hair curled, and his cap and feather flew in like a bird and settled on his head. And then he got into the carriage by the fairy's invitation, and there he renewed his acquaintance with the Duchess, whom he had seen before in the church, were the prince's relations and friends, and the Princess Alicia's relations and friends, and the 17 prince and princesses, and the baby, and the crowd of neighbors. The marriage was a beautiful beyond expression. The Duchess was a bridesmaid and beheld the ceremony from the pulpit, where she was supported by the cushion of a desk. Grand Marina gave a magnificent wedding feast afterwards, in which there was everything and more to eat and everything and more to drink. The wedding cake was deliciously and delicately ornamented with white satin ribbons, frosted silver and white lilies, and was 42 yards around. Fuck shit. Fucking British people. When Grand Marina had drunk her love to the young couple, the Prince Certain Personio had made a speech, and everybody cried, hip, 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 hurrah.
Hurrah!
Grand Marina's announcement to the king and queen that in future there will be 8 quarter days in every year, except in leap year when there will be 10.
That's not how quarters work, fairy.
She then turned to Certain Personio and Alicia and said,
My dears, you will have 35 children.
Fuck.
They will all be good and beautiful. 17 of your kids will be boys, and 18 will be girls. All your children will have curly hair naturally. They'll never have the measles, and they'll recover from the whooping cough before they're even born. That vagina that you have down between your legs right now, yeah, that thing's just gonna get blown out. I mean, you won't... It's throwing a hot dog down a hallway, almost literally at that point. You won't even feel the last 4 children. Sleep.
I'm pretty sure you don't feel it after 4.
Yeah.
You gotta ask.
Sleep. Yeah, no, you're not going to get any of that for like, I don't know, 37 Ever. Fucking years. So
that's when you die.
I hope you're happy. Also, yeah, no alone time. Literally no alone time. Yeah, you're pretty much fucked there. So, I hope someone got you a wheelchair as a wedding gift. That's all I'm saying.
Practice those Kegel exercises. It won't be so bad. On hearing such good news, everybody cried out, hip, 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 hurrah, again.
Hurrah!
The Grand Marina, in conclusion, says,
It only remains to make an end of the fishbone.
So she took it from the hand of Princess Alicia, and it instantly flew down the throat of the dreadful little snapping pug dog next door
Oh, Jesus.
and choked him, and he expired in convulsions.
Jesus.
The end.
Yeah. Hold on while I kill this pug for your wedding.
For
Yeah.
real. I was like, wow.
Oh, man.
It was probably just trying to give it some kisses. You know, pugs aren't actually
It's a
aggressive.
pug. It's a
Exactly. Pugs
It's a-
are not aggressive. It
Like,
doesn't
how
make
are you
sense.
afraid of a pug? Oh, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed some Victorian folk tales. Big source for that, the Pantheon Fairy Tale and Folk Tale Library. We got the Pied Piper of Hamlin by Bobby Brown. Robert Browning. And The Magic Fishbone by Charlie Dickens.
You want to write how year they are?
1842 and 1868.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
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 Check out our merch, yo.
Check out our merch. We've got a merch store now. We got all kinds of goodies on there. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Be sure to like, follow, share, subscribe. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Spell out
good
our name
shit.
in fishbones and take a picture and post it on the
Some
internet.
stickers.
Go Pied Piper your way through town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except don't steal children.
Don't steal children.
I didn't know.
Or
about that.
rats.
That scared me when I read that. I was like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Hope you didn't need your children.
And he never brings them back? What the
He doesn't.
fuck?
No, they never come back.
They're just...
They went on a one-way trip to Narnia.
Is that what happened in that one place in Virginia?
Probably.
And like the whole town disappeared?
Oh, Roanoke. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some guy
Roanoke.
just came and laid down the pipe and they all followed.
And everyone was gone.
He was just swinging that pipe around. It was just dangling. Hope you folks enjoyed. Have a good night, and we'll be back with you next week.
Bye.
Bye.